Hello and welcome everyone. I am C.S.Gilmore and today we're going to be talking about the Warhammer 40k novel, Warboss by Mike Brooks. Let me get you a proper look at that picture here. There we go. Warboss. Now, as you may have guessed from the cover and the name, this is an orc novel. And orc novels I find tend to be a little different than your average Warhammer novel. One, they tend to be a little simpler in some of their ways, but they're also a nice look into the orc mindset. In this case, they're on a fortress world, and they're taking out the last bastion there, the last holdout of the Imperium. The orcs are doing pretty good. And the war boss is getting ready to, get everyone together for the final push. Anyway, he gets up in front of a Gargant, which is basically giant orc mech, if you don't know much about them. And they're run by grots, generally inside the thing, pulling levers, getting things done, oiling what needs to be oiled, keeping the thing moving. Well, anyway, something goes a little wrong. You see, one of the grots pulls a lever, trying to, get the Gargant to do what it's supposed to be doing. And for reasons unknown, it's orcs. Because the lever they pull ends up not having the desired effect. It detaches the head from the Gargant. And said head then falls down and kills the Warboss. That's not generally good for orcs. You need a Warboss, because you need to have that one orc that's the biggest and the baddest and the smartest and the best to keep all the others in line and working together for a united goal. Well, now they don't have that. But they have something. They're not just going to give up on putting up a proper fight on this planet after all. But you've got a couple things. The factions in the orc army. Because there are various factions of different clans and things like that that have been working together under this war boss, but now they're like, yeah, I'd be the better war boss. You get a bit of a. See if I can get the list off the back of the book here. First off, you got the various factions. They're no longer united, and you've got a weird boy. I believe they're called the orc psychers, and he's doing some prophecy stuff of, well, the one true war boss will lead them to victory here and begin and lead the orcs on to turn the galaxy green, because green's the best color. Because there's a mysterious gate below the human city, and whoever war boss finds that, whoever finds that first will be the next war boss, and they'll lead them to the orcs to victory there. Well, you've got a blood axe. Who goes by the General. And he's kind of the more military minded. He's the guy who's going to have the sneaky orcs. And the guy who actually. The orc that, as far as orcs go, is actually tactical and kind of smart about things. You've got a speed boss, Zagnob, from the Evil Sons. And as you may guess from the name Speed Boss, they like to go fast. They're one of those ones that drives a custom dragster, orc vehicles. Whatever they piece together makes it go fast, and there's that general thing of trying to make something that goes super fast, but also doesn't quite kill you. You've also got Goth Big boss Mag Deadfist. I don't quite remember that one. How that one works. But another one. And you've got a little grot named Snaggy Little Tooth. And he's the self-proclaimed one true prophet of Gork and Mork, leading the Grot Uprising. Yeah. And he's also the one that may or may not have pulled the lever and accidentally killed the Warboss. So he's going to take credit for that, as long as it doesn't get him in trouble. And the orc weird boy, of course, is all sorts of encouraging, even to the little grot. He's like, yeah, you could be the war. Yeah, you could sure beat the next Warboss. Yeah, whatever. The weird boy's great. He's all sorts of weirdly cheery, but also extremely dangerous. And you worry that you say he might say the wrong word or get a little crazy and make someone's head explode, as orc weird types tend to do. Orc psychers are not known for their restraint, and they're also rather known for causing others to explode or exploding themselves. Anyway, this one's kind of interesting. He's got a little staff he uses, and in fact, I think this is probably him on the cover here. And he's not really interested in being the next Warboss himself, no. But he's the one who delivers the prophecy of, hey, if we got the next Warboss, we'll find this gate and we'll turn the universe green, or turn the galaxy green. But he has a funny thing of, he's got some Eldar spirit stones on his staff, and he likes to lick them. Apparently, something about their screams tickle or something like that. The screams of their spirits trapped in the stones tickle and junk like that. So he likes to lick them. Yeah. Not orcs. Poor Eldar, but yeah, you can't do anything for him. So this story involves these orcs breaking into this heavily fortified place to get to this gate that they have to find. And they all go about it their own way, because, well, everyone's got their own little way of going about it. I think the big goth guy was kind of like a mech. Yeah, big guy, big dude type situation. Probably, I think he's the one with the mechanical claw, I want to say, unless I'm remembering wrong. Don't recall. They don't have all the characters on here as part of the problem. So I wish they kind of had all of the orc characters on the front, just so I could easily be like, ah, yes, you're you, you're you, you're you. But anyway, the orcs go about their own things. Each of these vying for leadership orcs take their own factions and go about doing things their own way. The speed boss, Zagnob, of course, is going to be speeding around the outside of the city and trying to find a way in. Which, due to the Imperium having some idiots, and people do things and don't really think about the consequences very well, they kind of get the opportunity. Because there's some tank people that are told, hey, hold down the city, stay here, you're on defensive now. And they get a little, no, we want to take the fight to the enemy. It looks like the things are, we could go out there and fight, and they go and use a door, use a gate, get out of the city to go fight, and of course get themselves killed. Because, why would you give up a perfectly defensible position? It's Imperium. They don't always use their brains very well. It's all about the glory sometimes. Anyway, so the speed guys end up finding a gateway, a gate that they then work on, like, hacking, basically, and getting through and in through a tunnel into the city. There's a mechanicus guy involved with that one. I forget how that all plays out entirely on that one. while the other orcs does more of the full-on orc approach of frontal assault. Knock a hole in the wall, blow up a hole in the wall, tear through the hole, fight your way through the city. Proper orky business. Unlike that sneaky general, who's up to something probably. Snaggy Little Tooth is of course a grot, so he's just trying not to die while getting some of the other grots to hopefully listen to him enough to, follow along and do what he wants him to do without stabbing him in the back. Standard grot problems. He's kind of getting along with a bunch of these things. I forget exactly how they get into the city. Following along with some of the others, I believe. And a lot of sneaking. And I think the general does the most interesting bit, in my opinion, because he captures a soldier, a human, and like kind of keeps him captive for a while and makes it so he has trouble. It kind of gives him chances to escape here and there, but keeps capturing him and sticking him back in. And but at one point, the human manages to escape and finds a way down into this underground. It's a hive. This hive city has a bunch of underground tunnels that have branched out from it, and the human finds a way into one of them. And being the idiot, and the soldier is maybe not the brightest at times. He's thinking, I have to survive. I have to get back and let them know. Hey, there's the orcs and their Warboss is dead, but now they're getting others and there's attacks coming. And basically, he ends up just leading the general and his sneaky bunch into the city's zero underground passage because they let him escape so they could follow him. They're very sneaky folks, which is terrifying in its own way. Anyway, so yeah, he escapes, gets in there. He's during his escape and being in the sewers, he's not familiar with the sewage system. He's not familiar with the tunnels under the city, so he's getting lost. And it's a hive city. There's all sorts of weird stuff down there. You gotta watch out for mutants, monsters, etc., and so forth. But he gets lucky. He finds someone, and they're a bit odd. But he kind of works out some stuff with them, and they help him. They're like help guide him back. And meanwhile, back in the Hive City, you got the governor trying to handle things, and there's a commissar. And the governor's like, no, we need to hold our ground. We need to be on the defensive and doing all this stuff and whatnot. And the commissar doesn't really agree. And yeah, some things go down, but we'll get to that. Now, as I recollect, the one soldier gets led by this guy he's run into, and they end up working their way down into kind of one of the undercity areas. And yeah, there's a bunch of people down here in this area below the hive. They're all a bit odd too. They have funky name conventions. They kind of behave a little differently. There might be a reason for that. Because as the story progresses a bit, we learn that the reason this colony of people underneath the hive is a bit different is because they're Eldar influenced. And this whole prophecy about a gate under the city, yeah, by this orc, well, that's because there's an Eldar webway gate below the city, secretly hidden away, and they've got these people. It's got humans around it, but they've kind of just accepted it like, oh yeah, these aren't. The standard Imperial citizen doesn't know a lot. about aliens, really. And they just think, these Eldar the Eldar involved here are just, guardians or whatever of this. Like they don't think of them as aliens, and so they don't share the general Imperial mindset as much. They have a lot more. The Eldar's teachings have affected them over time. Well, anyway, through one means or another, the orcs all end up finding their way down there. All these different orc groups find their way in. And I want to say, and of course, the Eldar are there going, no, our warp gate, our webway gate, you can't use it. And yeah, I think there's, it never is explicitly said, but it's kind of hinted at that the one orc psyker knows about this gate down here because I mentioned he had some spirit stones that he's been licking, and it's kind of suggested that he's been extracting information from these spirit stones and the souls and the spirits trapped in them, and say like that there's a webway gate down here. And generally that wouldn't be too much of a problem because Eldar are the only ones who can really use those things anyway. But he leads them down, and of course, the Eldar aren't going to go down without a fight. They, I believe, they get an Avatar of Cain involved. There's also, they've also got some Aspect Warriors. It's not a huge like Eldar group, but there's some, and they put up a fight. So you got them fighting with the orcs. The soldier that escaped before and ended up leading some of the orcs in gets away once again. I believe he. Bother, I forget exactly what happened. After escaping with the orcs, I want to say he gets captured by the Eldar a bit. But anyway, he gets hold of a shuriken pistol at one point and escapes using it. And he's back out. He's running away, trying to go up to get reinforcements because, there's orcs below the city and also Eldar now. Everything's gone wrong. And he runs into the commissar, leading a bunch of soldiers. This is one of those commissars that probably isn't the best. They're one of the hardline commissars. Turns out they've, I want to say they straight up say, yeah, the world governor was a coward and I shot him and took command. And now we're down here because we heard that because the orcs were invading the sea and getting down here, so we came to fight them. And the soldier's like, well, I escaped from them and I have this information and stuff like that. And he still got the shuriken pistol, which he used to escape. And the commissar's like, you've used alien tech, and shoots him because how dare he use alien technology to escape, even if that's all he was able to get hold of. Also, really, it's like, okay, if it was demonic, sure, he might be corrupted then. Probably better to shoot him to be safe. But it's just basic alien tech. This commissar is one of those hardline ones. Like I said, just no leeway whatsoever. Probably a good example of some of the more extreme commissars. But yeah, how dare you use an alien gun? Bang. You've been corrupted by Xeno heresy. Anyway, big fight. Avatar of Cain fight with all of them. I forget exactly all what happens. I want to say some of the orcs that were going for Warboss get killed in the fight. The humans get dug in as well. So you got a three-way fight. But there's been a while since I read this one now. I'm trying to remember a few of the details. Long story short, I believe orcs win. The general survives, along with Snaggy Littletooth. And don't recall exactly how they end up working things out. Snaggy's a little disappointed that he doesn't get to be Warboss right off because the general's obviously going to take that role, even if Snaggy got there first. Because if Snaggy wants to live, he better not make too much of a fuss about it. And the Orc Psyker's kind of just like, yeah, whatever. And kind of surprises everyone by, especially Eldar that may have witnessed some of it, because he's able to open the gate to the webway. Because reasons. Probably because of the spirit stones he's got on his staff and the connections he's made there because of it. Anyway, he's able to open the gate, and the orcs are able to go on into the webway to continue to turn the galaxy green. And I want to say this left some openings for potential follow-up novels and things like that. I can't remember. I feel like they go through and they end up in another world, and I forget who they meet. Was it Gazgul? They end up somewhere else. See if I can find it real quick here. Not that, not that. Blah, 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 blah. Also, I want to give you an idea of how the chapters are. So, like the last chapter here, the bit what comes after the thing, the thing. my accent, I can't do good work. I really should practice that. It's fun. But yeah, they end up going. Yeah, bother. They end up going through, and then part of this story, I believe, was told from the point of Snaggy after he's been captured by some of the other orcs in this new place. And yeah, bother. Of course, Snaggy doesn't give up on the whole I could be Warboss someday, uh, but that's left for another story. And he's being interrogated, and one of those he's being interrogated from, telling the story from, is Nizquick. Uh, uh, oh no, not. Yeah, it was I'm Uthak Blackhawk. Uthak Blackhawk. I don't know a lot of stories about him yet. So sorry, different orcs, but yeah, I was trying to remember it. I couldn't remember the names. There's too many of them, and I'm not as familiar with my orc lore as I am with some of the other lores. But so yeah, they end up with Uthak Blackhawk and Nizquick, and I think there's another book I have that might get into them, but I haven't read it yet. It's on my to read shelf. If it's a book, I believe it is. But that's Warboss. It was a fairly good Orky book. It was kind of interesting to see different perspectives of the different kind of types of orcs and how they handle situations, they address them. As I recall, it had a few weird spots where it's like, wait, what? But that's kind of also what you're just gonna expect with some orc stuff, because the orcs do stuff that doesn't always make sense because they can pull off some weird junk. Yeah. There's another orc book that has some really interesting things I should talk about at some point. But not right now. Just get like I need to call it a night. Book wasn't bad. I also do need to read that Gazgul Thraka book, though. That was who I was thinking was, but it's not him. He was involved in this one. I know he's another main orc character that I should read about some more. All in all, the characters were very much orcs, but they did a good job of having individuality. The story was maybe a little spread weirdly because you kept jumping between perspectives of how these different orcs were doing things somewhat. And there were a few bits that were just maybe a little confusing. I'll give it maybe a 7, 7.5, 8 tops. As far as like the book goes, probably not going to reread it anytime soon. Though, as far as the Warhammer books go, like I said, orc books tend to be a little simpler, so it's not hard to read overall. Fairly easy to read. This chapter header. Lots. In other words, we're lots of chapters in. This one's also called Lots. So yeah, some definite orc iconography of or general design and how they make some of these things. Let me share another bit here. 1 second. More lots. So yeah, once you get further into the book, all the chapter headings are just lots. LOTZ. But the ending had a bit. There's also, of course, 1 near the beginning, and there's also I want to say there was one actual before before 1. There's a one that's called "The Bit What Comes Before Defeat." I think I mentioned that. And what was the last one called? That may have also just been lots as well. Yeah, no, no. There's one little bit. The bit what comes after defeat. That was it. So yeah, those two with lots of lots in between. Not the best if you're trying to remember which chapter was that in, but it's very orc for the design. Yeah. I would say I did feel like the Imperial characters were perhaps a little dumber than they should have been at times. Once again, some things that just kind of happen to make some of it happen. The tank people not being willing to follow orders and just defend the place and wait for the enemy and decide to we're going to go out and meet the enemy on beyond the city walls and end up giving the enemy entrance, plus also depriving the city of a bunch of tanks. That would have been real nice when the orcs broke down the wall, a hole in the wall. The one commissar just shooting people because, you know, let's have some loose ends, but story wise, but also, hey, no, you're not being. You're being too cowardly, hiding here rather than going out to fight the orcs. Bam. How dare you use xenotech to escape the orcs to try to give us valuable information? Bam. Yeah. Little trigger happy. And not in the best ways. That said, still believable somewhat as far as characters can go for those factions. So it's like it's not out of the realm of possibility. Just I've seen so many better written Imperial units. But as far as the orcs go, pretty good. Yeah, I think that's it for this book. I can't think of anything else to really add to it. But for now, uh, discussions below. Leave a comment. What do you guys think? Have you read the book? What did you think about it? Have you read other orc books, and how did you think this compared to those? As far as other orc books go, I think there were some better ones out there. And but I don't think this was bad. I think it was pretty good as far as orc books go. And it definitely gave more than, say, some of the Red Gobbo books, which are super small. It did a pretty good job of giving different looks at various orc types and factions. more so than some of the other books I've read have. But I feel like it was a little weaker on some of the story and some of how it handles things. I think probably because it was jumping between so many characters, it didn't give as strong a character as some of the other books were focused more on one or two characters in the time it had to develop those characters. Yeah. But what did you guys think? Otherwise, hit like, hit subscribe to keep up with new releases if you haven't already. I have to decide on what book to go over next. I'm kind of thinking The Lion, Son of the Forest. Because I haven't gotten to that one yet. I really should. Because that was a good one that I would like to discuss. So I do need to do a quick review on that one. Just because there are some details there and there I'd rather not screw up. But for now, good night everyone. Bye.